Hello, welcome back to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I am the director of the Center for Computer and Information Technology at Murray State University. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and local partners Sprocket Innovation in Paducah and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Last week, we started to answer the question about broadband. Whether it's a small business or a home user, we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about broadband, and in particular, how that relates to your business's cybersecurity planning. In cybersecurity, there's a thing called the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If one of those is not present, then you don't have true security for your organization. So it makes sense that we spend a little bit of time talking about our internet because that is a key aspect of our availability. What I wanted to do is talk about broadband because so many small businesses use broadband, whether it's at home or it's at an office, but it is the cheapest, most affordable way to get coverage for your business, particularly as you get started. The availability or the guaranteed speeds aren't as high as they might be once you get a larger business and you are willing and able to pay a little bit more for your internet. But we want to talk about this and make sure that we address this and answer some questions that I've heard since for the last couple of weeks as it relates to 10 at 10 and frankly have heard several times over the past few years. So let's go back and revisit and recap from last week. Last week we talked about the three critical aspects really of your home internet or your small business internet. First, if you bring your internet in, whether it's on fiber, whether it's on through a cable modem, it's DSL, or even it's wireless, normally it comes into a central collection point, which is a modem. So I have cable internet at my house, so I have a cable modem. You may have a DSL modem, but there's some sort of modem that comes into first. Second is your wireless router. Most people have wireless internet at home, and so you may have a wireless, a Wi-Fi hotspot, a wireless router that your modem connects into. Some people actually purchase devices from their providers and get those two items together. I don't necessarily recommend that, and I'll explain why that is as we go. But those are the two main devices, and then there's the wireless network or the network in general throughout your house. So the question is, what's your speed? How fast should you be getting internet service? How fast do you get internet service? You often hear about the advertised speeds that your provider is going to give you up to a certain amount of speed for your network. Well, that number's great. And let me say that if you don't get that speed number that's being advertised, it's not because your provider's doing anything wrong. It may be, but because of the overhead that happens when you have a network, you're not going to get to that speed. If I give you 50 meg bandwidth, you're not going to ever achieve 50 meg unless I actually really set it to 75 so that you can get to 50. But that's an important piece to understand first. So I hear from a lot of people that it says I'm supposed to be getting 50, but I don't get that speed. I actually only get 42. Well, that's pretty good. But you can always check for yourself, and you can use speedtest.net. It's a great service online. The FCC uses it. A number of organizations use it to just kind of gauge where your speed is. It's not perfect. There's limitations with it. There's some assumptions that you're going to have to think about with this, but that's a great way to see where your speed is. So I ran it and it pops out this result. So when I ran it, I had a download speed of 716 meg. I had an upload speed of 25 meg. Now, those speeds are unique to my provider, unique to the internet package that I purchase, But one thing that is worth noting is that the download speed is much higher than the upload speed. The reason that is because this is a residential, even most consumers of internet service download a lot more than they upload, meaning I am consuming internet services, I am consuming content a lot more than I am providing content. That's because we have streaming services. I download email, I download videos, I watch YouTube, Netflix, all those things that we do on the internet. Most of that is downloading. Now we have to provide some acknowledgement that we receive packets, and there's different things. So we're not only downloading, but most of what we do is download. So the speeds for download are typically much higher than the speeds for upload. That makes sense. But here's the important piece when you look at a speed test is where are you doing that speed test from? So if you really want to gauge what your internet connection is, you can't go off of a computer that's on the other side of the house from your modem. You can't do that because there's too many variables. It's giving you a true picture of your entire network and all the steps along the way. But if your internet is really bad, it's really struggling, then what I recommend is going to each step of the process and seeing what your speed is. So if you can go to your modem, even if you have to unplug your router, if you could plug your computer straight into your modem, use the RJ45 connection that's on the back. Hopefully your computer has an RJ45 jack. If not, then obviously this is going to be a challenge to do. But I recommend that you plug straight into the modem, run that speed test. If that speed test results in numbers that you would expect, then you go to the next step. So the next step would be that wireless router. Plug in directly. You see in the picture, there's 4 outlets on the back of it that are empty. Well, plug into one of those, run that speed test again. Make sure you plug your router back into your modem, but run it again. What that does, it's testing how is your speed, understanding that your connection has to go through that router, wired connection through that router, into that modem, and from that modem then to your provider. So once you do that, you can get another idea of your speed. So now if your speed looks good at your modem and it looks good at your router, and you're still having availability or you're having speed issues, now what you know is that speed issue is not your router and it's not your modem. But if you notice that those speed issues are bad for either one of those, then maybe it's time to upgrade. And I should note that both my modem and my router I have updated since COVID started. Since we started as a family doing more content at home, since we started doing more stuff, whether it's work or school, we started using more internet and we started having problems. And what I found out was that my modem was old, that my modem needed to be updated. So actually, instead of taking one from my provider, I purchased my own. So I own my cable modem. There's some benefits to that. One is I don't have to pay the rental fee. I usually do that, and I hadn't done that on the one that we had. So I went ahead and purchased that. So now we save that monthly rental fee. But also, there were some other problems that it would mess up quite often. We would have to go reboot it. Now I don't have to do that anymore. My router was fine except for the number of wireless connections that we had. So I needed to get another wireless router and even add an extender for the number of devices that we had. So the speed test really kind of helps you to gauge where your problem is. And then the last thing that I want to point out, and we may spend a little bit more time on this next time, is that if you've tested the wired part of your modem, the wired part of your router, the next variable in what you're thinking about where your challenge might be is the wireless piece. Now, last week we talked about some of the wireless technologies just don't get to the speeds that you might want to actually see the speed test results that I showed you for my home internet. But what you really need to do is to think about how far away is your wireless router from your devices. If you do a speed test on the wireless in the same room as your wireless router, and then you go to the other side of the house or you go to the far side of the office and do it again with the same wireless router, and your speed test is a lot lower, well, then you know that there's a issue with the wireless, and you need to think about the wireless planning, and do you need to add another device here or there, and think about those pieces, because frankly, you very well may have that problem. And when you start thinking about all the different wireless devices that you have in your house, your computers, your telephone, your gaming devices, your well, for me, even my thermostat is wireless. So there's so many different devices that you may have in your house that you need to think about. That piece, the distance from your wireless router or the number of devices connected to your wireless router, could impact your availability. And why that matters is that if you're doing something, whether it's video conference or you're on a VPN where you need some level, some quality of service, and you can't guarantee that on your device, well, that's a problem. And it may be because of the distance, it may be because of the capacity, and it may be because your wireless router is just too old to use. So I hope that helps a little bit. I want to go into a few wireless router security tips for you to think about for next time. So join us again next week on 10 at 10, and we'll talk about wireless security at your home, at your small business again. And hopefully it is helpful for you. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. And I appreciate you joining us today on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.